Hello and welcome to 50 Years Ago this month with Steve and Dave. This time around, we're talking about April 12th, 1975, the Billboard Hot 100 list. We're going to be looking at the top 10 and doing some cherry picking from
Yeah,
the rest of the chart.
yeah, whatever.
So, Steve,
Oh man, it doesn't. I don't know that it ever gets better than this. At number one, the majestic Philadelphia Freedom from Elton John. What a song and an interesting
Philadelphia
backstory.
Freedom. Yeah. Well, and this was one of the very few songs that was written just as a single. It wasn't intended to be part of an album or anything like that. It was just written for Elton John to dedicate to his good friend and accomplice in charity work, Billie Jean King.
Yeah.
At this point in time, Billie Jean King had been um, selected as the top woman player, tennis player in the world for the fifth time in 7 years. Of course, we already have her
Oh,
Battle of the Sexes behind us, where she defeated Bobby Riggs on the tennis
uh,
court after a
yeah, in the
chauvinistic
Houston
challenge.
Astrodome. Right, right, right.
And so Philadelphia Freedom was the name of her tennis team in Philadelphia. And so Elton just asked
Yeah, this is.
Bernie to write some lyrics for this, and Bernie Taupin said, "I can't write about tennis, um, and I'm not going to." Billie Jean King was all about, well, this isn't about tennis. This is about a feeling of being liberated. So that's what we got here.
Yeah, it's really something. The backstory with the team tennis is just peculiar. Team tennis that just started. It's this odd kind of combination of new rules and new colors of the court, and and so you're trying to generate some publicity there. But I think more importantly is the fact that this is 1975. We're on the precipice of the bicentennial, and this was sort of, I think, it kind of came out of the box as almost a kind of anthem, the sort of the soundtrack of the bicentennial kind of
Well, I
deal.
think that's what most people heard, right?
Yeah,
I know I did.
me too.
Philadelphia Freedom. My God, wasn't that the summer of the 1776? The musical, the film.
Oh goodness, right? Yeah, yeah, right.
So yeah, Philadelphia Freedom. Hell yes. This was did not appear on an album, of course, until his greatest
Yeah,
hits number two came out. Uh, does he have like three greatest hits albums at this point?
yeah, I think that's well, he had
Jeez.
the volume one and the volume two, and then yeah, um, but this was a singles only thing, and this
Right.
was and eventually would be it popped on. I think this is on Captain Fantastic. You may know this about later editions, but yeah, this just exists as a single.
Well,
Um,
and this was recorded during the Captain Fantastic period, just in between the recording for that album, and of course all the usual suspects are involved.
yeah,
In fact, this is one of the few hits of his that is actually credited to not Elton John, but the Elton John Band,
the Elton John Band. Yeah, right.
right? Um, was recorded in August of 74 and released on February 28th, 1975. Producer Gus Dudgeon, of course, as always. And this
Yeah.
would be the fourth of six number one singles of his in the early and mid 70s. So
I, it's just,
Elton John could really do no wrong at that point. The
I
song
think that's
was
absolutely right.
Yeah, was certified gold in 75 and platinum in 1995. And it was ranked as the number three song for 1975. It was well received. Cashbox
Oh,
said it had
oh
a
yeah.
a thumping heartbeat, big production, soaring strings, and bleating horns.
Yep.
Record World
Me
said
too.
that, quote, Gene Page charts provide local color for EJ's latest not available on LP Smash, end quote. Gene Page, um, you know a little bit about him?
I don't. This is an unfamiliar name. I'm familiar with Paul Buckminster, but Gene Page, not so
Okay.
much.
Yes, well, a similar, a similar niche there. He did the orchestral arrangements for this song, and he was working with everybody that had a name back in the day. He arranged "You've Lost That Loving Feeling" for the
Oh my
Righteous
goodness.
Brothers.
Right.
Um, did some work with Motown people. Arranged "Touch Me in the Morning" for Diana Ross and "Endless Love" for Diana Ross and
Oh,
Lionel Richie.
oh my goodness.
Um, Worked with Aretha Franklin, Johnny Mathis, Four Tops, Denise Williams, Nancy Wilson, Diane Warwick, Anita Baker, Whitney Houston, Roberta Flack, Mamas and Papas, Barbara Streisand. It goes on and on.
Well, who didn't he work with?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, he was clearly in demand. They make some reference to that here, that his contribution really is worthwhile.
I think it's yeah, I mean it kind of makes the song. I mean, there's something the soaring strings and all of that. It's such a lush
Beep, beep,
production.
beep, beep,
It's
beep, beep,
great. Yeah, and
beep, beep. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
it's a little thank you. It's a little out of step from other things that he had recorded. So I had a little bit different sound, but there was something about this that was just propulsive and song of the summer and beyond. I
Yeah.
think this remains, I think, for a lot of people, I mean, amongst their in terms of up tempo Elton John songs, this is right up there at the top for a lot of people.
Yeah. And as you say, when you're thinking bicentennial or for us in the coming year, um, what do you call the 250th?
Uh, Excellent question, and I don't know. I don't know,
But yeah,
but
that's so we're getting there too, right?
we are getting there. It is the case, right, that the bicentennial was getting momentum by we get to 1975. We'll talk more about this
It
because
was
this
a
has become
big deal.
it really was a big deal. Surprise, I think it caught people by surprise how how worked up the American public was about it. People were genuinely excited um, for a variety of reasons, but and this is just I mean this is adding to the mix.
Okay, just off on a tangent here. A little bit of
Oh, here we
rock and
go.
roll trivia. Since we're talking about bicentennial, on July 4th, 1976,
Hmm.
what song
Oh,
that has become a perennial favorite and has American in the title?
you know, oh, I'm gonna I I'm gonna kick myself. I
You are
Go
going to
ahead,
pick yourself.
go ahead. What is it?
American Girl, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well, I don't understand why the fellows weren't watching the tall ships. Or maybe they just took time from that. Do you remember this the broadcast of the ships coming into New York Harbor from
Yes.
all over the
Oh,
world?
yeah,
So,
big deal.
well, I this not a reflection on the Heartbreakers' patriotism, but there, yeah, okay, American Girl. Well, a song we'll get to talk
Well, they
about soon
they
enough.
were doing their part. That's how I see it.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, that's an interesting way of thinking about it. Good save. Yeah.
Anyway, this the song, of course, reemerged on the charts following the boo victory of the Eagles, Philadelphia Eagles over Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, geez. Well, I mean,
Um,
I mean, sure, it's become part of the cultural
yeah,
fabric of the city,
yeah.
along with, I suppose, the Rocky theme.
For our fans and listeners out there, we're both Kansans, so
Don't hold that against us, however.
we're kind of Kansas City Chief fans by default.
I suppose. But no, we are. But the Fly Eagles Fly or whatever however that goes. We should listen to a little bit of Phil, unless we've
Listen,
got.
just one other thing
Go
about
go
this.
ahead.
apart from dedicating it to the team, Philadelphia Freedom, and Billie Jean King, it was also dedicated in part to the Philadelphia sound, which we've talked about a lot on this program
You know,
because it has just become huge.
yeah,
Uh,
it has become huge. And Elton John worked with Tom Bell a little bit.
he
That's
did
just,
a couple of years later, I think. Yes.
yeah. But it is huge.
Um,
This is the right.
yeah, what the Tom Bell Sessions is what that was called, in
That's
fact.
right.
So, and one more thing, the at Philadelphia's Franklin Institute IMAX Theater, this song is played before every show,
I That has to be pretty cool.
right?
I mean, yeah.
Also, the lyrics to this song are printed on the walls of the Hard Rock Cafe in Philadelphia. So there you go. Just real
Well,
quickly, the B-side was a
hmm.
cover of the Beatles. I saw her standing
Oh,
there,
this is yeah, we saw this on the yeah, it's kind of a historic recording.
the
It
historic
makes
recording. It was the last song that John Lennon sang in concert.
I guess it makes the if you had the pressing of the single, um it's probably actually quite I know a lot of them were sold, but I mean it probably makes it somewhat more valuable.
Well, you know what? We'll probably have to talk about this single on our 100 Best Singles series at some point because
Well,
that's a pretty big deal.
the historic value of the B-side. I mean,
Right.
you and I both listened to the B-side. Yeah, it's okay. I
Yeah.
mean, it's fine. But
It's
okay,
John
fair
Lennon's
point.
last
Well,
last
I know. I mean, right.
song in concert,
And
Thanksgiving
it,
Day,
and it, and
1974.
and no one loved the
Massive.
Lennon single years like you did, and so it's fine. We'll definitely talk about it.
Anyway,
Yes.
again, we talked about King and Elton John working together for charity. Their two things were gay rights and, of course, something that was not a problem when this came out became a problem just a few years later with HIV and AIDS.
Yeah.
And they would go on working together, raising money for that. And they raised um,
Tremendous. Yeah.
hundreds of millions of
Yeah.
dollars together
Tremendously active.
over the years for those two things. So very
Yes.
impressive.
Yeah, they're very impressive. I think an argument can be made that Billie Jean King's one of the most influential Americans of the 20th century. And I mean, this World Team Tennis thing aside, I mean, she was an incredibly consequential figure in terms of her advocacy for women's sports at this time. And she is, I mean, a little bit past her peak as a player. Other players, Navratilova and Everett, are on the ascendancy, but I mean, she was way more than tennis, right? And she always was.
Well,
And this is why
just
we pay attention to her.
to underline that a little bit, on October 18th, 2023, she appeared as the Royal Hen on the 10th season of The Masked Singer, singing Philadelphia Freedom.
Oh, good grief. Well,
So
I mean, listen,
I had to
we
slide
do
that
not
in
hold
there
that
somewhere.
against her. I mean, everybody has their moments.
Okay,
Oh
what do you
God,
think?
that's
Let's go ahead and
unbelievable. All right, here we
go
go.
ahead and
Yeah, let's
listen to
listen to a
this.
little Philadelphia Freedom.
If you choose to, you can live your life alone. Some people choose the city, some of them choose the good old family home. I like living easy without family ties. Till the whippoorwill of freedom sat me right between the eyes. 'Cause I
mean, that's just, I mean, there's no spot there where it's not awesome.
Oh, fine
Um,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, maybe one of Davy Johnstone's finest moments too, on guitar. It's just,
Well, and that's saying something.
yeah, it is. It's just, well, it's a fabulous record. I think it's well produced, and there you go. Philadelphia Freedom, not a bad way to start the charts
Yeah,
in
indeed.
mid-April of '75. And number two is a song we talked about a bit last month. It's from Minnie Riperton, a beloved number, I think. Loving You, her incredible vocal range on display, um, and a really remarkable song.
Would
Oh
you like me to
goodness.
try to reproduce that so people just have a sense of
Well,
what we're talking
I
about?
think people going to. I mean, I think I mean, people I think have a sense. I mean, you were doing some vocal exercises there with Philadelphia Freedom that we
Well,
all enjoyed.
if you're sure, I'll just.
I listen. All right,
Yeah.
but maybe later. I mean, I don't want you to pull anything. Um, number three is oh goodness. All right, so the song is atrocious, but it has a very interesting and I think important backstory. And oh goodness, the song is the No No song from Ringo Starr. The B side is Snookeroo, which we'll talk briefly about.
This is why Ringo was the number two ex-Beatle.
Well, I think it's. I mean, Ringo has his moments as a. I mean, I Ringo has his moments as a solo performer. Um, this is such a poor vocal performance. He's
Oh, it
flat.
isn't. It
Oh,
isn't.
it's
It's
no
fine. It's fine.
no, it's terrible. And we'll listen to it. Well, so the interesting thing about the song, okay, it's well, Dave, what's the song about?
Well, it's about substance abuse, essentially, in its
I
various
mean,
forms. Yes.
in a giving, yeah, in a kind of cheerful and devil may care way. That's
Oh,
what's
and
being.
Ringo should know.
Well,
But
yeah. I mean, yeah,
it's cheerful because he's put all that behind us. Right? No, 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 no. I don't smoke it no more. I don't sniff it no more. I don't drink it no more.
yeah.
Um,
That's right. And so there's the joke, and it okay. I remember this as a again because we're old. I do remember this as a kid. This is the kind of it was a kind of sing along song
yeah.
on school buses and things like that. As a kid, I remember going to a field trip where
We
somebody
didn't
in the
know what we were singing, but we enjoyed it.
back fired up a version of the No No song, and then shortly thereafter followed by My Dingling, and that is 100% true. The No No song. Okay, so this okay, I it's not great, but it has some interesting players on it, like with all of Ringo's material. He only plays with alongside the best. Bobby Keys on sax, Klaus Vorman, who else,
Klaus
right?
Foreman, of course.
On bass, Jesse Ed Davis on guitar.
And I see here, produced by Richard Perry.
Yes, the one and only Richard
Yeah,
Perry. I mean, so who's
that's
on
just
a
yeah. Can't really go wrong with a lineup like that.
no, no, you can't. And so on the B side of this is Snookeroo, which is a song penned Bernie by Elton John and Bernie Taupin. And it's a kind of biographical nod to a Ringo-like figure coming out of the North who plays a lot of pool and sort of kind of goes his own way. There's a certain charm to Snookeroo. It's not a particularly great song either. It was the lead single, however, in many countries, including the UK, because the No No song was seen as deeply problematic. In some parts of the
It's an
world. It's
anti-drug song, man. What's problematic about that?
well, yeah. I mean, sure. There we go. It's penned by okay, so it's penned by the interesting part about the song, I would contend, is that it's penned by a guy by the name of Hoyt Axton.
Oh, who had
Oh,
some
it's
problems
fascinating.
of his
Yeah,
own.
who had some problems with his own. Hoyt Axton is, I think, we've been doing this. This, by the way, marks our 5 year anniversary of Steve and Dave's. Um, and Hoyt Axton is one of the most interesting people that I've ever had a chance to do much research on. It's his story, his backstory is extraordinary.
Even
So,
involving his mother and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like
So here
that,
we
right?
go. So
Those,
to that
yeah.
point, well, thank you for putting that on the tee. It's his mom is May Boren Axton, born in Oklahoma, raised in Oklahoma. The Boren family is political royalty in Oklahoma. Brother was a governor, nephew was a governor. I mean, it's just incredible, incredible political power. I think you can make the argument that the Borens are the Kennedys of Oklahoma. I mean, they've had a long-standing um, influence on Oklahoma politics and are, a kind of a regal name. She didn't go that way. She, of course, took her life a different direction. She taught journalism, interestingly,
Oh,
was
interesting. Yeah.
taught in journalism in Oklahoma schools, and then eventually moved south, got married, moved to the south, ended up in Nashville, where her interest in acumen and journalism put her in contact with record companies and would-be performers. This is where she had the opportunity in the 50s, mid 50s, to befriend a very young Elvis Presley. She convinced RCA that Elvis she's one of the many people, but she had some influence and somebody they should sign. She penned independently Heartbreak Hotel, which one Elvis Presley recorded to great success. And she was considered a kind of grande dame of Nashville for many decades. I mean, Hoyt Axton talks about as a kid coming home from school, and there's Elvis and his mom eating sandwiches in the living room, we're working
That's
on.
so
I mean, it's
true.
just like
Yeah.
it's so he had some interesting experiences, and I think candidly some interesting advantages. He goes into the music business, becomes a kind of singer-songwriter, travels all over the United States, spends time in New York, spends time in Chicago, and eventually makes his way to Los Angeles. This is, I think, Dave, is really significant because he, as a kind of singer-songwriter, finds himself in Hollywood at Doug Weston's Troubadour, where he has some success. And Hoyt Axton was a garrulous, just a hail fellow, well met. People just liked him. He was a good time and an entertaining fellow, and people liked to listen to him. He had stories, and he became for a decade the Troubadour's go-to person when somebody didn't show
Is that
or
right?
when somebody was sick. And so he performed hundreds of times at the Troubadour to the
Wow.
point where they had a gigantic mural of him in the back. He was considered some people considered him kind of the face of the Troubadour. He was there for a decade. And the Troubadour, of course, was famous for not just what happened on stage, but what happened back at the bar, where people would meet and songs would be written and bands would be created. And so he had a chance to sort of hang with lots of people. Um, at a recording session, he worked on a song that they had a little extra time. And he was, this interesting little ditty that they didn't do much with, that a couple people remembered when he was playing pool with some members of Three Dog Night,
Uh-huh.
who asked, well, you got any songs? And he said, well, I've got this thing that I don't have a title to. Well, that was Joy to the World.
Was that
And
their
so Joy,
biggest single hit?
yeah, it was. And so Joy to the
Yeah.
World, penned by Hoyt Axton, was also a number one song. Hoyt Axton
By the
and
way, not everybody on Fleetwood Mac, Three Dog Night was on board with doing it.
oh no,
Um,
they weren't. Yeah,
but they were really glad they had
they
after
did. Yeah,
the royalty checks started rolling in.
it turned out well in the end.
Yeah.
Hoyt Axton and and May Bourne Axton are the only two parent and child to have penned independently number one songs ever.
And they're both in the
They're they're
Oklahoma
they're both in the Oklahoma
Songwriters
Music.
Hall of Fame,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right. Um, it is the case that Hoyt Axton had his fair share of substance issues, as you mentioned, quite famous for that, unfortunately. Um, well, speaking of substance issues, I mean that the drugs were a common theme for Axton, for lots of writers, of course. Um, when Axton was at the Troubadour, a young Los Angelino named John Kay was the busboy. And John Kay, while he was cleaning tables, would hear Hoyt Axton perform this song called "The Pusher." And Kay said, "If I ever have a band, we're going to this is I love this song. I'm going to get this." And so years later, right, Steppenwolf records "The Pusher" to great acclaim. A song, of course, that you remember in Easy Rider in a scene involving one Phil Spector. And so there's all sorts of kinds of loops here
Yeah, yeah.
of familiarity. It's Hoyt Axton because he's a big personality and was comfortable in front of a microphone and in front of the camera, uh, became an actor and had a lot of acting credits in the 1970s. Um, Even appeared on shows like WKRP, quite a
Oh,
famous episode where he was
okay.
a former lover of Jennifer, and also even the Muppet Show, for God's sake. Hoyt Axton was Hoyt Axton, though, derailed himself. I mean, that
Never,
didn't,
yeah, never really got the monkey off his back.
he never really did. He poured through managers and wives, and it was a difficult and he died a young man. He
He
died
died
in
young. Yeah.
yeah 1999. But the No No song is, I mean, if you know anything about who wrote it, it's it's a little less amusing. Um, Axton himself recorded a version, of course he would, right? A version of the No No song where he had Cheech and Chong in the background. So a little too on the nose, perhaps. And I
Oh,
think I failed to mention this, but Ringo had some help on the No No song from somebody with some real expertise. Keith Moon provides some spoken bits here. And so, oh
okay.
Lord. So I think I've done the damage that I'm going to do with the No No song. We should take a listen to it here.
Yeah.
It is ugh, it is
Oh, it's a
all that.
blast. It's just so much fun. Was Nielsen? I bet Nielsen was also involved somehow.
Nielsen is involved. Nielsen is involved in the No No song as well. Oh Lord. Here we go. The No No song.
A woman that I know just came from Mallorca, Spain. She smiled because I did not understand. Then she held out a 10-pound bag of cocaine. She said it was the finest in the land. And I said, no, 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 I don't, no more. I'm tired of waking up on the floor. No, thank you, please, it only makes me sneeze. Then it makes it hard to find the door.
Again, I don't think this is Ringo's greatest vocal moment. I know you see this differently. I think he is, well, anyway, it's not great, but it sounded terrific in a school bus in the mid 70s, I can tell you that. And so it's the No No song, good Lord, at number three. At number four, we talked about this last week, proto disco number Express from BT Express.
Yeah.
It's a kind of, I would, while it was a very popular song in this era, it's a kind of hidden gem. We don't hear it much, even on oldies radio. Man, it's fantastic. So look that up. Express from the BT Express. At number five, then, um, really kind of interesting number from singer-songwriter Phoebe Snow. I think it's her big hit, and it's
Yeah.
Poetry Man.
Yeah, it's a big hit. No surprise, not a great favorite with me. It's
No,
just a little bit.
no, I can't. I couldn't tell by your body language.
No,
You were just you're keeping that inside.
but I've never been a great champion of
Oh
laid
man.
back, breathy, jazzy music. So since that's what this is, uh, it was never going to be a big hit for me. But it was her signature hit, right?
Oh,
Came
definitely.
from
Yeah.
her eponymous debut album, Phoebe Snow, released December 1974. She wrote it, of course. It was the second song she wrote ever.
That's
And
unbelievable.
yeah,
Come on.
and some folks that she was hanging out with in Greenwich Village found it a little bit yeah, harmless, I guess. But
You couldn't be more dismissive of this.
I said this
You
is how
just
it is.
couldn't.
All right, but Dino Arali comes on the scene, and basically discovers her and talks her up to the owner of Shelter Records, one
Oh,
Benny Cordell.
Denny Cordell of you mentioned the Heartbreakers,
Yes,
the original label, Shelter Records, headquartered in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
that's
Yes.
right. So he signed her up. She went on to write 7 of the 9 songs on the album. But of course, Poetry Man became her first charting hit. It went up to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, number 4 on the Canadian RPM magazine charts.
Yeah.
Previous month, it reached number 1 on the Billboard Easy Listening or Adult Contemporary chart, and it remained there for 1 week. And it actually scored her a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist in
I think this
1970.
is, I mean, I think that she really, well, I think her career stalled. Um, she was, I mean, she came out of the blocks, like hot, and I think she was considered one of the singer-songwriters that would be the next sort of generation of Joni Mitchells and Carole Kings. It didn't work out for her this way, but people love this song, Dave. I know
Yeah.
it's not I know it's not a favorite of yours, but yeah. So Phoebe Snow, this is clearly her high watermark. But yeah,
Well, and they got together in the studio and in Los Angeles, in Nashville, and so on. And what they were coming up with, these recording sessions, were not really yielding any
yeah.
promising results. And so Irali suggested that they try a jazz flavored album, and that's why it turned out the way it did. Zoot Sims played the saxophone on Poetry Man, and the percussion work was done by Ralph McDonald. Phoebe Snow wasn't particularly enamored with the song either, just to be perfectly clear of that.
Well, there we go. So you're in good company.
Well, and there were 2 reasons. One, this song is about her having an affair with a married guy, right?
It's
Uh, she says
yes.
from the lyrics, "Home's that place you go each day to see your wife."
It's yeah.
And among others, Casey Kasem suggested that the song was about Jackson Brown. Uh, Phoebe Snow would open for Jackson Brown later, though,
Oh, good
a couple
grief.
of years after the song was written.
Huh. Okay.
But this was a
Casey.
persistent rumor, and Casey Kasem just kind of poured gasoline on that fire,
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, there was, yes, in this era, I mean, if it came out of Casey's mouth, I mean, everybody was going to run with it.
right?
Oh my gosh.
But she said it was not Jackson Brown, and again, the fact that this song came out a couple of years before she was opening for him kind of suggests that it really wasn't him.
Well,
She said she
I'm,
can't, she's not going to say who it was. He was married, but it was not anyone who was famous. So and so that was part of the problem. Part of the problem
okay.
was uh, as a young singer-songwriter, she was somehow okay with that sort of relationship with a married man. Later, she completely rejected it. She said, it's
It
never okay. It never makes anyone happy in the end, and so
it would be, yeah, it would be, and it would be difficult, right? That this would be the song that you are best known for, and when you appear, people want you to perform it. That it,
yes,
yeah, that you somehow want to sort of disown it or sort of distance yourself from it. This is a common problem with performance, but yeah, this strikes. Yeah, there's a personal piece to this that's
just yeah,
yeah,
just
got to be hard.
a short quotation. She said, "quote My head was in a particular place when I wrote that song.
Yeah.
which condones extramarital relations, which now I do not at all condone. I was a silly kid back then who had no idea what was going on, and I had sex with a married man. How can I stand up there now and sing what purports to be this little romantic ditty about sleeping with somebody else's husband? That makes me crazy. I'm glad I'm saying this publicly because I don't like to preach during my shows. I just like to
Well,
entertain. Now
yeah.
I sound like an old fart, but I just think extramarital affairs bring sorrow and bad karma. It's just really a bad idea. And
Dave, your stance on this song is becoming, I mean, now, I mean, I almost regret having made fun of you. I feel
you're
ashamed.
making fun
So
of me? Well, I didn't
you
even pick up
were,
on that.
well, from your, yeah, but you had this, I didn't realize you had the moral high ground. Forget the jazzy breathy business. This was a moral stance on your part.
The moral high ground, yes. Well, that's generally where I'm coming
Yeah, I
from.
mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, this is, yeah, I can see this would be hard to play over and over again years later.
Um, one more quote from her, and this is the second part that makes it. I mean, she understands how important this is for her career. She understands people want
Oh,
to hear it,
yeah.
and so it's just part of her duty as an entertainer to give them what they want. But she said that, quote, I never intended to be a jazz artist. Back when I was really starting to play guitar and sing, I listened to the Rolling Stones mostly, and Led Zeppelin, and Cream. Sly and the
Huh.
Family Stone were my idols. I was never really happy performing jazz music. I always felt overly concerned about being technically perfect. So she felt like people were trying to
Yeah.
push her toward Ella Fitzgerald or a Sarah Vaughan type
Well,
corner.
yeah, I mean,
Uh,
yeah, you can see that.
and
That's
she
interesting.
says, I'm a rock and roll singer and I've always been one.
I'll be darned.
And I haven't heard any of her. She made a couple of albums later on that went in that direction. I haven't heard it, but
Yeah, and I know that she had
I
the famously
suspect
she
that
had
they're
the
more in my up my alley than this other stuff.
well, I suspect that's right. And she had the duet with Paul Simon. I think that's gone at last. But on the Still Crazy After All These Years LP. I believe that's right. But which is up tempo. Um, but so, okay, so should we listen to a
Let's
little
listen in.
Poetry
Sure.
Man? But we'll listen, but we'll
We we
listen
we must. I
disapprovingly.
think. I think we must. But yes.
We'll just shake our heads.
Uh,
That's just, we Steve and Dave's do not endorse, but here we go.
When I am with you, I have a giggling teenage crush that I'm a sultry man, yeah, a sultry man. Whoa, talk to me some more. You don't have to go, 'cause you're the poetry man. You make things alright, yeah.
Here we go. With Phoebe Snow in her high water mark as a solo performer, Poetry Man.
to her credit, I think giving the song the title "Poetry Man" at least provides a kind of a warning about what you're going to get. So.
Well, Brumpum, I'll tell you what. There you go. You circled back in the end. God bless you. You did. Oh, that's well done. Well played. Good for you. At number 6, it's Hey, this is one of the longest titles ever. Hey, won't you play another Somebody Done Somebody Wrong song from the great B.J. Thomas,
Oh man, fantastic.
penned by Larry Butler and Chips Moman. It is, you can almost see the bolts. It's kind of welded together. It's clearly a kind of, I mean, there's nothing all this. It's kind of clunky, but it's irresistible. And so it's funny. Sometimes things that just are the most basic. This is kind of meat and potatoes country stuff. I mean, there are the most popular. And so with Butler and Moman, they are again kind of Nashville royalty. Larry Butler went on to a career alongside Kenny Rogers. He was the producer of Kenny Rogers when Kenny Rogers was Kenny Rogers, the 1970s and 80s Kenny Rogers. Dozens of hits. Chips Moman came from Memphis, from the Stax Studio universe. Moman then went on to create his own record label. Moman had a lot of production work with some great people you've heard of, like, oh, I don't know, Elvis Presley and Aretha Franklin. When Moman then eventually migrated across the state to Nashville, he worked alongside Waylon Jennings and when Ronnie Millsap in the 1970s and 80s, when Ronnie Millsap was putting everything on both the country and the pop charts. Um, B.J. Thomas, right? No slouch himself in terms of success. In the 60s, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, top 10. Hooked on a Feeling, top 10. Maybe a song we're familiar with, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, the Backrack and David classic, number one.
Also B.J. Thomas, yeah.
Also B.J. Thomas. And this song will peak at number one. It'll be his second and final pop number one. B.J. Thomas also was a huge figure on the country charts and also on the contemporary Christian charts. I mean, Thomas had his share of struggles, quite open about them. To his credit, rebounded, used this backstory as well, I mean, he kind of reinvented himself as a contemporary Christian artist. He's a really interesting figure. He passed away a few years ago, but as a kind of pop vocalist in particular, I think he's really effective. This song is, I kind of made fun of it, clunky, and you can see the welds and you can see the bolts holding it together. But there's something irresistible about it, and so it's a pretty strong performance from Thomas. And let's listen to it here.
It's lonely out tonight, and the feeling just got right for a brand new love song. Somebody done somebody wrong song. Hey, won't you play another somebody done somebody wrong song? And make me feel at home while I miss my baby, while I miss my baby.
I mean, it is what it is, but people loved it, and this was a huge hit for Thomas, for Moman, and for Larry Butler. So, goodness, there we have it.
And it expresses a truism about popular music.
Well, I mean,
And some of the best songs ever written were breakup songs, right?
That's exactly right. And so the more things change, the more they say the same. And so B.J. Thomas at number 6. Number 7, it's Lady Marmalade's Lady Marmalade by Labelle. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's one of those songs that just you can't believe it came from the 70s. It seems like it's just been around forever. It's as fresh today as it was in 75. I'm really curious what you're going to do with number 8. So some things age well, some things age poorly, and then holy smokes, and then there's Chevy Van. And so at number 8,
it's fantastically. It's
just here we go. All right, so please,
perennial.
I'd like people to recognize who's articulating this. So at number 8, it's Sammy Johns with Chevy Van. Please tell us more, Dave.
Also from eponymous debut album. Sammy Johns wrote this song. Producers were Jay Centaur and Larry Knechtel.
Yep, there we go.
Man,
Wrecking Crew.
The guy was everywhere.
Stalwart.
Yeah, member of Bread.
Yeah.
And later, and just a multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah.
A huge talent. So
that's fair. Yeah. Absolutely.
And it was in fact the Wrecking Crew that did the instrumentals the instrumentals on this. So
I wonder who did because it has a beautiful 12-string. It's one of my favorite 12-string comport. I wonder if that's Tedesco. I wonder who did that. We'll
Could be.
Look that up. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, this was released January 1975 on GRC, and had some experience across some success across the United States and Canada. It reached.
I guess so.
Peaked number 5 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 chart, and eventually got 1 million sales. and it's been something of a staple on top 40 radio since the
Yeah.
70s.
I mean, I think it's a little less of a staple today than it was a few decades ago, but I mean,
But you'll still hear it. You'll still hear it, and it's it's gotten a lot of yardage on country charts. It's been covered by several country artists, and it's also very popular there. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about
what are we talking about here?
a young man
I wonder where you're going to get to it. Yeah, go ahead.
in his driving his Chevy van, and
Rolling
sees
probable cause. Yeah, go ahead.
a young woman hitchhiking, and being the
Oh.
chivalrous person he
Oh.
is, he picks her up and gives her a ride, and says, "Hey, you look tired? Just go ahead and grab some wings in the back," which she does. And
Yeah, okay.
when she wakes up,
Okay.
she reaches for his hand. She reaches for his hand,
You're trying
and
very hard here, but let's keep going.
well, that's what the lyrics say, man. And so she loves him in the back of his Chevy van, and that's all right with him. And
Okay.
and listen, there were just 2 decades, right? More or less 20 years, where free love was a thing,
Well, I think this is I mean, right. This is the
right?
point.
Between
Yeah.
the advent of the pill and AIDS,
Yeah. So, yeah, late 70s, early 80s. There's this period, right, where
and
this,
and
yeah.
and that was something that that redefined sexual mores. And this sort
It
of
absolutely
thing,
did.
a casual sexual encounter,
Well,
was what the times made possible.
Well, Dave, I think this is exactly right. I think this is, so this is, I mean, it casual encounter enshrined in a song like this. It was, lots of songs were like this in this era, right? And top 40 popular stuff you hear on AM radio. I mean, it just filtered through the culture. It's only it's only in retrospect with some of this seems really deeply problematic. But as you're suggesting, if it's the midnight scene 70s, this is seen as almost a kind of, I don't know exactly, but this is the kind of thing that happens. This is the kind of thing that we celebrate. That there's, what's the problem? There's a kind of beauty and kind of grace and elegance to all of this, and it's okay. There we go. It's
To
fine.
be
But
perfectly fair, this is not a wham bam, thank you, ma'am sort of thing. There's a tinge of romanticism there because he's
well,
clearly attracted to this woman.
yeah,
And
okay.
he
Yeah.
drops her off in a small town and regrets to see her walking away barefoot along this dusty street.
Well, this is okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd say this break at some point this kind of breaks down, but I mean, but yeah, but there's a regret. But watchers are walk away nonetheless.
I love the song. I still think it's fun.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's
And, it speaks to certain fantasies that
oh, good grief. Here we go. All right, so
that some of us have.
Okay,
I'm
let's
sure
just
you're
okay.
above that
This
sort
is
of
probably where we need to break away and listen to it.
thing.
Save you from yourself. All right, so
Well, let's
this
do
is
that.
Sammy Johns. This is it for Sammy Johns, right? This is
He's a one-hit wonder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. So Sammy Johns is monumental Chevy van.
I gave a girl a ride in the wagon. She crawled in and took control. She was tired, 'cause her mind was a dragging. I said, get some sleep and dream of rock and roll. 'Cause like a picture she was laying there, moonlight dancing off her hair. She woke up and took me by the hand. She's gonna love me in my Chevy van, and that's alright with me.
It is is what it is. There's an elegance, and I do think that the acoustic piece of it is fantastic. I think the Wrecking Crew, it's once again, they know what they're doing, and
They know what they're
so
doing. Yeah,
they know what they're
they're the
doing.
best.
They, indeed. Whoo, Sammy Johns. We got through it with comparatively little damage. I think that's a success. At number 8 was Chevy Van. At number 9, I mean, it just sort of one minefield after the next. At number 9, it's Barry White. Whoops. Okay, so Barry White we've talked, if you've watched any of these episodes over the past 5 years, we've talked a lot about Barry White. He's an incredibly prolific and popular performer in the mid-1970s, charting on the soul charts, the pop charts, and then the nascent dance charts that are just starting right now. He is a performer. He's a writer. He's a producer. He's an arranger. He's really an incredible figure. There's a certain persona that Barry White embraced that's consistent. And while some people, kind of lampooned it then and lampooned it now, it definitely dovetailed into, I mean, he made it work. And so he
made a career of it.
made a career of it. And so to some degree, sort of one Barry White song is like every other Barry White song. I think, however, the song at number 9 is amongst his best. What Am I Going to Do With You? Which it has a slightly different, I mean, it's still Barry White, but there's a certain, again, kind of propulsiveness to it that I think it separates it. I think it's really quite good. This will be kind of it for Barry White on the pop charts. He'll chart, but one more time, in 1977, he'll hit the pop charts with It's Ecstasy When I'm Laid Down Next to You. But I mean, he's just been sort of one hit after the next, but this is kind of it for him.
Until Ally McBeal comes along.
Well, let's see, there we go. Fair enough. What's quite a wait, by the way. The Barry White, as we've talked about, made maybe some poor choices in terms of lifestyle and in terms of health. He's smoking.
He's a smoker. He's a joker. Yeah.
He's smoking more than 1,000 cigarettes a week. It's just, and so and then of course this is starting to catch up with him, and he'll die a relatively young man. But while he's with us, it's really quite amazing. We mentioned the Lovin Limited Orchestra and the lushness of the Barry White arrangements. You'll hear that here. There's also the certain kind of, man, this song kind of moves. And so let's listen to Barry White's and I'm going to look at it. What Am I Going to Do With You? Quite good. I mean, it's Barry White, right? I admit, candidly, got a soft spot for Barry White. Always have, probably always will. And there's a certain sameness to them, but I think this is a terrific song. And so it's Barry White's almost his swan song on the pop charts, but it's What Am I Going to Do With You at number 9. Rufus featuring Chaka Khan is the last song from the top 10. At number 10, it's Once You Get Started.
Yeah. Now for me, when I see Chaka Khan, when I think about Chaka Khan, I'm reminded of Ronnie Spector, and just in the way.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay.
They both have they exude a charisma, and they look like they're having fun.
Oh,
when they're performing. It's just infectious. So
yeah, and in the case of Ronnie Spector, you know that she was acting, as we learned the backstory there, but she was incredibly convincing on stage, as is Chaka Khan. It just like the time of her life.
Yeah, and it's energizing. So it's a lot of fun to watch live performances of either one of those two. Now, Rufus really became a big act with when Chaka Khan, who had been one of their background singers,
that's right,
took over the lead singing role. Now, Once You Get Started came from their third studio album, Rufusized, It was the second one that was released in 1974.
I mean,
Uh,
strike while the iron's hot. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that was clearly the idea. This was following their second album, which went gold on the basis of oh, help me out. Uh,
Uh-oh. Oh, you've caught me flat-footed.
the song, the hit was
Tell me something good.
"Tell Me Something Good." Thank you. Yeah, on the basis of "Tell Me Something Good," and they just followed that right up with this once you
Yeah.
get started, and it became a platinum album then. The album itself peaked at number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1975. Gave the group their second top 10 single, the third top 40 single overall. It also hit number 4 on the Hot Soul Singles chart,
Yeah.
as well as number 6 on the Record World Discophile Top 20 chart. Rufus was Tony Maiden, Kevin Murphy on keyboards, Andre Fisher on drums, Bobby Watson on bass. But on this song, they also brought in the Tower of Power uh, horns section,
There you go. That's a good
which
choice. Always a good choice.
this powers and it drives this particular single. So they did everything right. By the way, Tower of Power, Steve, what do you know about them?
Well, I mean, they were the session musicians of choice for a variety of artists for many, many decades. They had some singles of their own.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think uh, are they out of Oakland? I actually am not sure where they're headquartered out of.
California,
But it's but Tower of Power. You whenever you saw the or well, you just knew. I mean, you just when you heard the horns, oh yeah. I mean, it's very distinctive, and it took a song to a different level.
and as you say, you could hear those horns on any number of different artists' albums.
Oh,
They played with Otis Redding,
everybody.
Aaron Neville, Aerosmith,
Yep.
Bonnie Raitt, Eric Clapton, Elton John, Labelle, Huey Lewis, Little Feat, Santana, Stevie Nicks, Grateful Dead, Carlos Santana, Journey, Cat Stevens, John Lee Hooker, Helen Reddy, Rod Stewart, Hart, Toto. So yeah, this is
Genesis.
another
I
one of
mean,
those
yeah. I
people
mean,
that
it's
they were
yeah,
everywhere. They were everywhere.
everywhere for sure.
They certainly gave this song the accent that it needed. Shall
Totally
we
agree.
begin?
Let's do. All right, here we go.
Once you get started, oh, it's hard to stop. You can't stop, it just can't stop. When you get down, y'all, when you get down, ain't no turning back, no. Everybody party hardy to get back in the groove. I like the way you do it when you do it. I like the way you move. It's a good thing. Here comes the sound. Everybody, let's get on down. You can do it like you never.
That is a woman who can deliver a vocal. Incredible power, incredible range. And as you suggest, somebody sounds like they're having a great time. So it's Chaka Khan, Rufus and Chaka Khan with Once You Get Started. We're going to talk about a couple more songs in just a second, but it's April of 1975, and the elephant in the room in this month, good Lord, is in Southeast Asia. No great surprise, I think, to people around the world, and certainly not a surprise to people living in Southeast Asia, nor really people in the United States. South Vietnamese government is beginning to crumble in Saigon, and well, all hell breaks loose on the 30th of April. I guess,
This was
Dave,
this was
go ahead.
it started, of course, with Vietnamization, a program that Richard Nixon initiated. The idea being the Vietnam War has to be fought and won by the Vietnam military, and
Yeah.
that was never going to happen. Of course, I think that is something
Well,
that everyone actually realized, even
well,
going
I think
into it.
that's
But the idea
it
is,
was yeah, it was a
our
cynical
soldiers need to come
strategy.
out. We
Yeah.
need to get American soldiers out of there.
Well, I think that was exactly it. I mean, it was, I think, transparent. I mean, anyone who knew anything about South Vietnam knew that it was a puppet regime, and it was a disastrous military, and nobody had any faith in them. And certainly the U.S. military didn't have faith in its South Vietnamese partners. And so Vietnamization was a really cynical strategy to extricate the United States under the
Peace
guise
with
of
honor.
peace with honor. I guess you could argue that it even I mean, the fall starts maybe even earlier with the Tet Offensive in '68, January '68, where well, the United States basically is shows that it doesn't really control Southeast. It doesn't really control South Vietnam. You have hugely impactful figures like Walter Cronkite and the like saying that the war is basically
Well,
unwinnable.
this is just it, and I would push back just a little bit in the sense that
Okay.
I don't think the Tet Offensive militarily, it was not a great move for
Well,
North
no,
Vietnam.
totally agree. No, and
Um,
you're right. I
but in
think
terms of the
that's
hearts and minds of Americans,
it.
that
It
it
was
was definitely that was the
that
beginning of the end.
that was being at the end. And I think from a military perspective, I got somebody like Westmoreland would say, well, look, we do the body counts clearly, the United States, it was a huge defeat. But no, the hearts and minds, it changed the way people saw the war, that people perceived the war as unwinnable. And so,
Well, and we had been told um, victory in Vietnam is just around the corner. It's we have reduced North Vietnam to rubble, and it's just a matter of a few months, and then we will be done.
well, so yeah,
And the Tet Offensive made clear that that was a lie.
that was a
That
lie,
part was the
flat out lie,
yeah.
flat out lie. So with that, and you're suggesting, I think accurately, the Vietnamization strategy of Nixon and Kissinger put in motion then a kind of slow motion withdrawal of basically all of the U.S. forces out of Southeast Asia. It took a long time, but we get to the spring of 1975, and it's pretty clear that South Vietnam will fall, and that Saigon will probably fall. It's not just don't know when, but it's coming soon. So plans are made for a massive evacuation of American personnel. We know, right, that if you're in a country like this for a decade and a half, you've got lots of people who are American citizens, and also then people who have worked for the United States. So you've got really tens of thousands of people who have had some sort of American connection, and they're scared that there'll be reprisals when the North Vietnamese make their way into Saigon, and not an unwarranted fear. So the plan is that when the Armed Forces Radio Service plays White Christmas, that is the signal to make your way to the embassy, where there will be a kind of orderly withdrawal using helicopters. And
Yeah.
so
You hear White Christmas in April,
so
it's a
you
sign
know
that that's probably not just the normal programming.
what happens. So the morning of April 30th, White Christmas is played in Saigon, and apparently lots of people are in on this plan because suddenly there are thousands of people descending upon the American embassy and the Air Force base on the outskirts of Saigon. The
Can
the
you
North
imagine
Vietnamese, oh
the
Jesus,
the,
this
the,
is unbelievable.
the reaction? Just you're there, you're in Saigon, and you hear White Christmas being played.
Yep.
So shit has hit the fan.
That's
It's
it.
just
This is it.
probably a matter of hours.
No, that's exactly right. It's a matter of, and so it was terrifying. I mean, I think the terror was palpable. You look at the images, and we'll include a couple things in the playlist. The terror was palpable of the people on the outside of the embassy looking to make their way in. People who had worked for American firms, had worked for the American government in a variety of roles, right? And so they believed, I think, with some justification, that they were real dangerous if the North Vietnamese took over, and they wanted out. The other thing, of course, is that you have a number, well, I mean, an untold number of Vietnamese who are involved in relationships with American troops who have born children. It's unbelievable. It's almost incomprehensible the amount of American influence that there was in South Vietnam at this time, and you're just going to leave? That's not how it works. So as people are freaked out, and so as the North Vietnamese get closer to Saigon, you start to see images like this. And so you didn't have to hear White Christmas to know when you see something like this that there is something amiss. And so as the North Vietnamese got closer, South Vietnamese Army regulars stripped their uniforms off, went down to their underwear. Because they did not want to be, captured,
No.
and they wanted to sort of kind of just meld into the public. And so it's chaos. And so what we see in the United States are the images that coming out of the embassy, right? So hour after hour, the helicopters are moving into the embassy, taking people off the roof, and then ferrying them to ships. It is, I just, from a kind of an optics perspective, Dave, how does this, you think, come across to the American people and to the world community? This is the most powerful military in the world. This is the richest country in the world. And this is how the Vietnam War is ending, with these helicopters, people clinging to the bottoms of helicopters, trying to make their way out.
Helicopters being dumped off aircraft carrier decks because there's no room for them and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think it must have been surreal, just on a certain level, just to see this happening, and essentially the defeat of the most powerful military in the world by a guerrilla army.
By guerrilla army. I think we're a long way away from it, but I think at the time it was considered almost an impossible moment in American history. I think people realized that it was going to happen, but it still just was difficult to kind of swallow that this is how it was going down. And I think many people just had a real sense of shame, abandoning South Vietnam in this way, kind of abandoning some of the tenets of the Cold War. And of course, to say nothing of all of the thousands of American troops who died in this war, a war that was oftentimes, I mean, the American public was lied to continuously during this war. And I just think that it was an incredibly complicated moment in American life. And it's a long time ago, but I think that there's still a kind of shadow, Dave, that hangs over the United States in regard to Vietnam.
Just showing our inability to learn from history. Just a couple of years ago in Kabul, Afghanistan, we saw essentially a repeat of the same sort of thing. It was in so many ways similar. It was like deja vu.
It did harken back to the end of the Vietnam War. I don't know if there's any question about that. The particulars, there are differences, obviously. There was this sense that the United States had never gone through this before. We had never seen anything like this. In the eyes of many people, this was the first real defeat of the American military, maybe since the War of 1812. And there was just so much had been invested in the Vietnam War as part of the Cold War that suddenly, right, that we're just going to sort of cut and run. And in fact, that's what happened. There's no quick and easy way to sort of tie a bow on this, but if the country had gone through Watergate, had gone through a resignation, and gone through the end of the Vietnam War in roughly a year and a half period, people were reeling. I mean, people were reeling. This was cataclysmic stuff. And so if you need an explanation for why there was the disco era,
I was just going to say, this, if you're wondering, disco, where the hell did that come from? Well, now you know.
I think that's part of it. I mean,
Yeah, I
I
do too.
genuinely,
I really
I mean,
do.
it's just like the world is the United States, it's a heavy place. It just everything has just gone to hell. Let's dance.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, disco becomes, I mean, people throw themselves into discos we'll talk about in the late 70s like nobody's business. Well, that's I think a big part of it. I think it's a huge part of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So there we go. We'll talk a bit more about some political stuff down the road, but we had to mention at the end of the Vietnam War, which was the dominant news story in April of '75. A couple more songs.
As you suggest, just anticipating the next few years of 50 years ago this month, we have to have an explanation for what we're hearing there, and that's
Well, because I mean, because it is sort of one kind of mindless dance song after the next in the disco era. Well, why the hell did that? Well, the reason is 73, 74, 75. I mean, these were inflations through the roof. I mean, it's just a very difficult time in the United States.
Gas anywhere.
Oh, the United States had seemingly been reduced to something. I mean, it didn't feel like a superpower in the 70s, right? With gas lines and
broke.
Exactly. I mean, all hell is breaking loose, and things that people had long believed in, they just couldn't. It seemed like whether it was the presidency or even sort of this notion of kind of the America's place in the world, what are we? Yeah. And so people needed an incredible diversion. They got one with disco, but they were hungry for it. They really were. All right, a couple more songs. Very different songs for sure. At number 20, song we have great affection for. It's from Leo Sayer, and it's Long Tall Glasses, which is a kind of campy, kind of vampy, almost kind of 20s number that is that's charming as hell. It really is. It's something. Leo Sayer had already established a career as a songwriter in Europe, working alongside David Courtney. They had panned a couple of things that had made really gotten some attention. Giving It All Away, which was the first singles hit from Roger Daltrey of The Who, bigger hit in Europe than it was here in the United States. They also penned a song called The Show Must Go On, which this group that we mentioned before, Three Dog Night, picked up on and was one of their last hits in the U.S. So Sayer and Courtney were, they were a kind of formidable writing pair. Sayer also had a kind of, he almost brought street theater to the stage. There is a certain kind of, there's a certain almost kind of pathos quality to him as a performer. And so this fits into Long Tall Glasses, which is the story of a person who stumbles into a situation where there's lots of food, lots of drink, and all you got to do is dance. And so there was ham, there was turkey, there was caviar, there was long tall glasses of wine up the hyar. It's a great song. Sayer will have a lot of success in the coming years. A lot of success. He is whether it's You Make Me Feel Like Dancing or When I Need You or More Than I Can Say, he's at the top of the charts. He will, though, come out of the decade basically broke, as his career was completely mismanaged by a former teen idol, a guy by the name of Adam Faith, who he blames for basically just steering his finances into the sewer. And so Sayer
he had to reinvent himself as an exercise guru, renamed himself Richard Simmons.
Somehow I knew this was coming, but so I don't think that's the case. But if you have thoughts, please put them in the chat. but yeah, so there's a startling resemblance
Yeah.
to, yeah, but we should listen to a little Long Tall Glasses, which is,
I think
it's,
his best.
I think so too. It's irresistible.
I am a man of the road, a hobo by name. I don't seek entertainment, just poultry and game. But if it's all the same to you, then yes, I will try my hand. If you were as hungry as me, then I sure you will understand. Now wait a minute. Of course I can dance, of course I can dance. I'm sure I can dance, I'm sure I can dance, I can dance. I can dance! I really hit the floor!
Hit the floor. It's, yeah, I mean, what's not to love? Long Tall Glasses is Leo Sayer at his roguish best. And so there you have it at number 20. Last song I wanted to mention today is an important song. It's a song that didn't really make a huge dent in the singles charts in the United States. This is not a singles band by any stretch, but arguably one of the most influential bands of the late 20th century. And they come from, of all places, Germany. It's Kraftwerk with their the singles version of Autobahn.
Yeah, and the singles version is, of course, very different from their album version.
Yeah,
The album version takes up most of the album. It's like 20
That's
minutes
right.
long.
That's right.
And the album that it comes from is also called Autobahn. This was released by Kraftwerk in November 1974 on Philips Records. Kraftwerk
Yes.
was initially a duo consisting of Florian Schneider and Ralf Hütter. Klaus Ruder joined on guitar and Wolfgang Flür on percussion. So they had been doing kind of an experimental krautrock type of thing,
Yeah,
their
that's
earlier
right.
work. And now they're moving very solidly into electronic pop, consisting mostly of synthesizers and drum machines. The interesting thing about this is that they're not just buying a Moog synthesizer or buying a drum machine. They're buying equipment and then doing some engineering on that.
Yes, this is, yeah, right.
So they're creating their own electronic instruments, which brings something new to the game, right? And both Minnie Moog and one of their drum pads that they personally designed can be heard on this single. Is one of the reasons that people across the world sit up and take notice. Electronic music isn't entirely new, and synthesizers and drum machines aren't entirely new. But what they're hearing from Germany with this is something that's innovative.
Yeah,
They have Connie Plank as their producer, who is also well known in the German scene. All these things come together. Autobahn is the first song of theirs. It's not just instrumental. It's the first one that they have to include lyrics.
lyrics of a sort. Yeah,
We have German lyrics for a song that's will become a hit in America, which is a bit strange. Americans aren't terribly fond of foreign language songs. Well, there have
fair.
been hits, but they're not. They're few and far between.
And rarely in German.
Rarely in German. Yeah, we have several in Spanish and so on, but
Yeah, so so there's a lot of things about this single that are unusual. It also describes, and maybe you can talk about this a little bit. It is it takes us on this journey on the Autobahn. The Autobahn is a real thing. And so there is a kind of palpable sense that you are in motion. And that's part of what's happening here with all this. It's a fascinating exercise. It really is. There's something, I mean, there's something about this that is just so distinctive. Even today, decades removed, it's like, damn, they really tapped into something very interesting here.
Yeah, this peaked at number 25 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 and number 43 in the adult contemporary. Reached number 9 in Germany, number 12 in Canada, and number 11 on the British charts.
Mhm.
And most of it, most of the lyrics consist of the chorus. There are like maybe 6 lines in the entire song
Yeah.
that are not just fahren, fahren, fahren off the Autobahn. English language listeners hear that. And of course, what they hear is fun, fun, fun on
That's
the Autobahn.
that's exactly right.
And
That's exactly right.
if you hear fun, 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 and you're talking about cars and stuff, your first association is the Beach Boys.
This is exactly it. This is this weird kind of moment where it's like there's this link between the Beach Boys and Kraftwerk. It's odd, but yes, this really went down like that.
But of course, the actual words are fahren, wir fahren, fahren, fahren auf der Autobahn. Um, we are driving, driving, driving on the Autobahn. And that is repeated again and again and again. But it's contagious.
It is. It's
And
strangely contagious. Yeah.
this is it may be going a bit far to call this a proto new wave, German new wave song, but I think it anticipated German new wave at least.
Totally
some
agree.
ways.
No, totally agree.
Um,
It is incredibly influential. I mean, incredibly influential. This really changed. This
yeah, it was a game
inspired.
changer. Yes.
This is a game changer. This took electronic music in a new direction, and I think you're suggesting something interesting in terms of what it might have anticipated. And Kraftwerk from this point on, I mean, they're touring as we tape this, record this. They were touring the United States. They're still considered sort of the. I mean, they're pioneers.
Yeah.
They're really considered pioneers. It's really something.
And I think before this, there really wasn't a lot going on in German music that was interesting for the younger generation.
I don't know. Yeah.
You know, and what the new German wave came up with wasn't nearly as electronic. I mean, there were electronic elements, but it wasn't electronic music as such. But there was a sense, I think this liberated young German music makers to do something different
I think
than
that's well said. Yeah.
German music had made available up until then.
I think it's well
So-
said. Yeah. All right. Well, we should.
Well,
Okay.
listen in.
So let's listen. Let's take a listen to Autobahn.
Fahren, fahren, fahren auf der Autobahn. Wir fahren, fahren, fahren auf der Autobahn. Wir fahren, fahren, fahren auf der Autobahn. Wir fahren, fahren, fahren auf der Autobahn.
Oh, I could listen to that all day. It's incredible. The single version it butchers. I mean, they just pieced it together. I mean, what are you going to do? But the album version of this is incredible. And so, if you're unfamiliar with Kraftwerk, if you're unfamiliar with Autobahn, it's definitely worth seeking out. So, I think, my goodness, I think that's it. So, mid-April, 1975, lots of different directions on the charts for sure. We
Oh
look
yeah,
forward.
eclectic as hell, but
Why don't you take us
a lot of
home?
good stuff.
Take us home, Dave.
Well, if you enjoyed this video, and we hope you did, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can do that right here. And as always, you'll want to check out the playlist. Lots of good music. Some of it's live. It's all fun. Do that right here. You can also check out another 50 years ago this month, right up here in the corner.
You bet. We're also always include a little reading list. You want to explore more about Kraftwerk, you want to explore more about some of the producers we talk about, we'll include that here. We also every day are posting new content on BlueSky. BlueSky is where the action's at. So check us out on BlueSky. So until next time, we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.